Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yoon Gi-wan. Before the presentation, I'll give you one question. Do you know what this logo is? How about this logo? Most of you know that these logos are from same company. You might heard that Facebook have changed its name to Meta. Since this event, I started to have interest in Metaverse. So, what is Metaverse that attract Facebook to change its name? Metaverse is a new word that combined with meta, which means virtual, and universe, which means a world. It is a virtual reality which is connected to real life like occupation, finance, and learning. As examples of metaverse, there are Roblox, Zepeto, and GatherTown, which you might heard at least once. But don't you feel like this is kind of game? Metaverse covers a wide range, but I think there are some people who think this is kind of game. And that's what I thought at first too. However, I don't think this is all of the potential of Metaverse. Let's watch the following video. Can you see the virtual realities in the video? These are made by Unreal Engine 5. If we can interact with this virtual reality, I think you can feel the great potential of Metaverse. So, how can we make this realistic graphic? 3D graphics are created by processing of rendering pipeline. We'll pay attention in rasterization here. Rasterization is a technique that creates 3D graphic by projecting 3D objects into 2D screen. It uses projection metrics to convert 3D meshes into 2D screen and render each pixel. But if the different segments are projected into same pixel, they might be recognized as the same segment. So interpolation methods are needed to solve this problem. In this study, I analyzed DDA algorithm and Bresenem algorithm. DDA algorithm is a simple scanning transformation algorithm, like solving a differential equation in our math class. If the gradient m of the segment is between 0 and 1, it finds optimal y value for each x. And if m is bigger than 1, it finds optimal x value for each y. On the other hand, Bresenem algorithm assumes that gradient m is between 0 and 1. It determines pixel by measuring the distance between the center point of the pixel to the segment. You can think that DDA algorithm is more efficient, but it does floating point calculation. However, Bresenem algorithm does integer calculation, so it is more correct and faster than DDA algorithm. Rasterization is a technique used since early days of 3D graphics. However, there are limitations making realistic graphic through this rasterization. Let's find out by following pictures. The part say RTX off is using only rasterization, and RTX on is using ray tracing with rasterization. Look at the reflection below. You can see that ray tracing is making more realistic reflection between the rasterization. In this picture, you can see that ray tracing is making more realistic graphic by receiving more natural light. Rasterization needs additional technique to express light expression, shadow effect, and reflection. But ray tracing needs only one, the fast graphic card. I'll explain why. Lights travel straight in real life, and when it hits an object, it reflects to our eyes. Therefore, we recognize the object. Ray tracing is a technique that retraces this movement of light. The segment is considered as a light, and we retrace it by measuring the light. However, ray tracing also has this advantage. There are too many calculations to deal with. Processing all this computation, we cannot interact with virtual reality in real time. So, is there any solution? Bounding volume heresy is a technique that box surrounds the object and doesn't calculate if ray doesn't hit the box. So, through this technique, it can reduce the amount of calculation in ray tracing. Therefore, ray tracing enables realistic graphic depiction without additional technique like rasterization. So, I built virtual spaces using Unreal Engine 5 to make realistic graphic. First, I load 3D asset from Pixel and configure the framework of environment. Next, I build collision on static mesh to allow users to interact with objects. And then, in order to make more realistic graphic, I use polish mode to make more detail on the environment. Lastly, I regulate the rotational value of the directional light to make atmosphere of the space. Therefore, I make 3 virtual spaces. The first virtual spaces is Stone Valley. Look at the right cliff. You can see the shadow effect by natural shadow effect. The next virtual space is desert environment. You can see that realistic natural light between the scene. And then the detail space also made the left side of the screen. Lastly, I built forest environment with large cliff, trees, and grass. Don't you feel like this is a real photo? In realistic graphic, the most important thing in realistic graphics, there are shadow effect, reflection, and light expression. If you combine ray tracing and rasterization, you can make a realistic graphic. In this study, I analyzed theoretical part and create outputs. But I'm regrettable that the outputs doesn't use theoretical part directly. So in further study, I'm planned to learn each stage of rendering pipeline and create the outputs using this directly. In addition, I'll create cinematic video using Unreal Engine 5. With this, I'll end my presentation. Thank you for listening.